Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Terrell. I'm here with RotoPros.com, live down here in Arizona. I made it down to the Phoenix ISM Raceway here this weekend. I wanted to bring you some of my top picks. Just going to mute that here for a second. Some feedback. There we go. Back from the track after final practice. I got the sheet updated. I shared that. You can catch that on Twitter as well as the community chat there. Slack chat for RotoPros. If you're a member, you can grab that there. I've got my top targets updated. What I want to do here is just go ahead and give you some of my top picks, how to use my cheat sheet, how to download your own copy so that you can go ahead and, make your own copy, make your own models as well. So without further ado, I'm just going to share my screen with you and just kind of go over that here. Get the screen share set up. So what we got here is the Can-Am 500 this weekend from ISM Raceway. The big thing, the big change here, this from the spring and all the other races here at Phoenix, is that they have converted the track a little bit. They shifted the stands around. They turns 1 and 2 are now turns 3 and 4. The start-finish line has been moved to the other side of the track, and it's kind of the restart zone really comes after, in turn 4 as they shift into the dogleg. I was at the truck race last night, and it created some amazing restarts. Just coming off there, going into that dogleg, you're seeing 4 and 5 wide. So there's going to be some crazy restarts as we move into the Cup race tomorrow, and it's a big race. It's a final elimination race before we get to Homestead next weekend for the finale. So that's going to be a very exciting race tomorrow. Really excited to get there. Brought my daughters down here this weekend, first race ever for them. And we've been spending the last 2 days in the pits, and it's been just overwhelming. The weather is just beautiful down here. You're going to see some good weather tomorrow as well. Always seems to be the case in Phoenix, just talking to some of the locals here. And, I don't think I'm ever going to go home because I talked to some friends here, and it is about minus 30 Celsius in that range and snowing right now. So kind of thinking of maybe just staying down here for a bit, or maybe just going down to Homestead and following the NASCAR circuit till the storms pass. But without further ado, just go over this cheat sheet here. Got the screen share up. So what you're going to want to do first of all is this is a view only mode as you see it right here. So for you to sort any of these rows, like if you wanted to go to current track history, career track history, any of these columns, and sort them highest to lowest and kind of do your research that way, which I like to do for sure. You're going to want to go up to File, make a copy, name it whatever you'd like, and then click OK. And then when you do that, that's going to open up a editable version of the sheet. So what you're going to do once that opens up and it's loaded for you, if I wanted to see this is current track history last 2 years, that's the start of the 2016 season, you're going to want to go to average finish, click in that column N, go up to data and sort A to Z for lowest to highest. And then what you'll see is it's now going to sort the drivers by their average finish over the last 5 races here at ISM Raceway. And as you can see, 2 drivers have absolutely dominated here. Harvick's got 2 wins, 4 top 5s, and 5 top 10s. Kyle Busch hasn't won here in the last 5 races, but he's got the same amount of top 5s and top 10s, 317 laps led. And they both, 3.4, 3.6 average finish. And then this DK and FanDuel average, that is the average fantasy points over those 5 races. So you can see they're very close. Kyle gets a little bit of an edge on DraftKings just because he led more laps. But they're almost bang on when you're looking at FanDuel, which looks more at kind of your average, your finish, laps completed, and your finishing position. It kind of downgrades. It's only a half a point per lap led versus a full point for that, or sorry, 0.1 points for a lap led, 0.1 points for a lap, and then half a point on FanDuel for your place differential, whereas the place differential on DraftKings gives you that half or the quarter point, and you get fastest laps as well. So that's a little bit of difference in the scoring there. Like you can also see Eric Jones here. He scored quite a few DK points less than on the FanDuel site. So as you can tell, he's a little bit better play there. It's because he doesn't lead laps. He doesn't have any laps in the last 5 races, and at a 9.3 average starting position in those 3 races that he's raced, and a 7.0 average finish, he's not picking up a lot of place differential, so he's obviously a lot better play on FanDuel because he's getting those finishing position points and laps completed. So just keep that in mind when breaking it down. Guys that are maybe starting inside the top 10 that aren't going to get a lot, that you don't think are going to be dominators, aren't going to lead a lot of laps, those are the guys that you're going to want to roster more on FanDuel if you're playing on both of those sites. And then on DraftKings, when you're looking for your value plays, you're going to look for a little bit more of that place differential after you've kind of nailed down your dominators. So back to that a little bit this week. I always break down the last 6 races at the track, and you can kind of see start, finish. You can see all the data here. DraftKings scoring, FanDuel scoring for each race over the last 6. And then if you scroll down to the bottom, got some data here. We've got how many drivers had positive place differential, how many had double-digit place differential, how many had double-digit fast laps. That's for DraftKings. And then how many drivers had 20-plus, 50-plus, and 100-plus laps led. So dominator points are going to be big here. We've got 312 laps in the race, and there has been one driver that has led 100-plus laps in each of the last 6 races. So you can see that data as you scroll over and look at the last 6 races. And then in each of the last 5 races, there's been at least 2 drivers to lead 50 or more laps. So we want to probably nail down 2 dominator drivers just with those stage points. Like last year, we had 2 drivers over 50. As you scroll up here, you can kind of have a look. Kyle Busch led 128 laps last year. Harvick and Hamlin each led over 30. And then Kyle Larson, who kind of fell off there in the end, led 54 laps in that race as well. So that's kind of what we're looking for. So you can research each of the last 6 races. So the one here, that's just kind of designating that is the spring race in 2018. So that was this year's race. So as you scroll over, if you maybe just want to narrow down and see how guys did in the fall race in the playoffs, you can just look at the ones that have 2. There's 2017, 2016, 2015, those 3 races when looking at that. And that also shows in there, that's kind of the part of their last 6 races. And then we've got, scrolling over a little bit, we've got career track history. So I like to look at who's got the wins. Kevin Harvick, again, has dominated. He's got 9 career wins here, 15 top 5s and 20 top 10s in 31 races, and he's led a whopping 1,522 laps led in that time. So he's definitely going to be my top dominator of the week. He was, I'll get over here in just a minute. We've got track type. So the tracks are a little bit different. We've got New Hampshire, we've got ISM Raceway, and we've got Dover. The 1 mile tracks, Dover's a little bit higher banked, so I don't really consider that. So I'm weighing track history just a little bit less this week. But as you can see on those tracks, Kevin Harvick's got a win in each of those tracks, 5 wins in the last 16 races on 1 mile tracks. And we've got current form. I definitely weigh current form. I like to see how driver, is coming into this race with momentum. And I'm just going to go ahead and sort that by average finish over the last 6 races. As you can see, Joey Logano. So he's just been so uber consistent coming into this race. He's got the win that's locked him into the final at Homestead, but he's definitely going to be on the radar. Something that maybe plays a little bit of a narrative is that, if he goes ahead and wins another race, it really makes it a points battle for the guys at the bottom. And if in some way gets down near the end and he can maybe push like Kevin Harvick, who got the penalty last week, got his win not taken away, but the win was, didn't lock him into the Homestead final. He lost 40 driver points. That only leaves him 3 points to the good when looking at the cut line coming into this race. This is a really huge race for Harvick. If for some reason the points were close coming down to the end and, Logano gets the win, it's going to make it a points battle, which is going to be huge. So don't expect Logano just to roll over and take it easy here this weekend. Next column is season form, so you can kind of look at how a driver's done throughout the season. As you can see, Kevin Harvick's got 8 wins, Kyle Busch was 7. So you can kind of look at that. But the most important thing now that final practice is over is looking at this data in the purple. As you can see, I've got a 50% weight on that. So this is where you can come into the model and you can change it up. So if you want to maybe get rid of track history, career track history, form, DK, average on the track types, that sort of thing, you can get rid of all that by just, highlighting those numbers, erasing them, and putting more weight over here on practice and qualifying. And then after you, from this column BB over to BT, once you get your 100 value points put in that orange columns, as you can see here, it adds up to 100. Then it gives you an overall ranking. So I'm just going to sort back by DraftKings pricing. That's the most popular site people are playing on. We're going to sort most expensive to least expensive. The other thing that I've filled out that you can go look at after this video is the targets. So you can see my favorite drivers going into this race, what format I like them in, their DraftKings and FanDuel pricing. So I'm just going to go roll through a few of them here that I'm looking at rostering this week. I actually can't play. Apparently, Arizona, I just learned this today, can't do gambling and can't do DFS. So this is just for you guys, I guess. I'm really confident about my picks this weekend, but unfortunately, I will not be playing. So my first driver that I'm going to be looking at is Kevin Harvick. Qualified up front after all the controversy last week, getting the penalty on the Wednesday. He qualified first. He's fastest in both practices today, and then in final practice, he put up the fastest 10-lap average. We talked about his dominance here. He's easily the top driver in my model by quite a bit, actually. And then after that, we fall into Kyle Busch, qualified sixth. So he gets you a little bit of place differential. He was fourth and third in the final two practices, and top fourth and fourth 10-lap averages ranks in both of those two final practices. So he comes in second in my model, and then closely behind him, Chase Elliott. He's had a good track record here. Looking at that a little bit, he has back-to-back top fives here, as well as 4 top tens in his 5 races here. He's qualified on the front row beside Kevin Harvick, and he was 6th and 12th in the final two practices, 8th and 7th. So there's a little bit of risk there. Probably leave him as a GPP only play, just at his price at $9,900, $13,000 on FanDuel. And then Brad Keselowski I'm looking at as well this weekend. Qualified 12th. I definitely like that for some place differential points. He was third and second in the final two practices, and then second fastest 10-lap average in final practice. So he kind of checks off all the boxes there for me this week. So definitely looking at him to do well, and one of my top picks. I'm probably going to use him in all formats at only 9,300 and 11 too. He makes a good solid core, I think, for cash games with the speed that he's shown and some of the success he's had here. Unfortunately, he's had a 15th and 16th in his last 2 races, but he does have 5 top 10s in the last 9 races here. After him, I'm kind of moving on into the mid-range, and the one that stands out to me the most is Eric Jones at 8,300 on DraftKings, 10,000 on FanDuel. He qualified 7th. He was fastest in the first practice, only 16th in the first practice this morning, the second practice, which would have been Saturday morning. But then he came out in the final round, and he was right up there at the top of the leaderboards, 4th in 1 lap speed, and then 3rd in 10-lap averages. So definitely looking at him in all formats. He comes back here to Phoenix with 3 straight top 10s after he finished 19th in his first race here, 8th, 4th, and 9th in his last 3 races. So starting 7th, I think he can kind of, I think his ceiling is maybe a top 5, and I think he's locked into a top 10, barring any, engine issues or anything like that, crashes, stuff like that. So definitely looking at him at that price, especially on FanDuel. Like I said, I don't think he's going to get any dominator points started inside the top 10. So he's definitely a FanDuel core play for me over DraftKings, but I will use him for GPPs on DraftKings as well. And then moving on, I mentioned Eric Almirola and Kurt Busch, teammates, both still in the playoffs, trying to get to the final. So there's a lot on the line for them. Almirola's 8th in my overall model. Gives you some place differential starting 18th. He was faster than that in both practices, 14th and 7th. And then he went from 17th in 10-lap averages in the first practice this morning to 10th. So he gained a lot of speed, long-run speed going in. So I think his ceiling is going to be a top 10 finish. I don't think he's going to win the race. I don't think he's going to advance into the next round. But I think a 10th, somewhere between 8th and 12th is probably going to be where he's going to finish this week. And at his price at 8,100, 10-6 on FanDuel, starting 18th with the place differential upside, I think he makes a great play in all formats on both sites. Also talked about Kurt Busch. He's a little more expensive at 8,700, 10-9 on FanDuel, starting 14th. And he didn't show a whole bunch of speed more than that. He was 5th in 10-lap averages in the second practice, the first practice this morning, but he was only 13th in the final practice, 12th in 10-lap averages. So he's a little bit more of a GPP play for me. With everything being on the line, we're probably going to see out of those 8 drivers, I would probably say that at least 6 or 7 for sure going to finish top 10, barring any crashes or anything like that. But they're showing that kind of speed. So definitely looking at the playoff drivers here this weekend in this race. So moving on down into the value range, we got Newman, Byron, and Wallace. So Newman's been really good here. He's kind of been up and down lately. Like he finished 11th here in the spring, 20th in the playoff race last year. He won the spring race in 2017. He was 12th here in the playoff race in 2016. So he's kind of been up and down, but he's had success here. Starting 22nd, he showed speed. He was 17th, 23rd in practices, and 16th and 13th in the 10-lap averages. So I think he can finish better in his starting spot, giving you some little bit of place differential. I think his ceiling's maybe like a 15th, 16th place finish. But at 7,100 on DraftKings, 9,000 on FanDuel, I think it makes sense. You can fit him in all formats on both sites. William Byron's one that I'm definitely looking at. He comes in, just going to scroll down here. He's 15th in my overall model. He's only 6,500 and 7,000 on the sites. Starting 19th, which normally William Byron, I'd like to see him start aside, but in his first race here, he started 11th in the spring, finished 12th. Very good results there. And started 19th. I think he can get inside that top 15 again. He was 18th in the second practice, 15th in 10-lap averages, but he came out in the final practice. They definitely made some good adjustments there. He was 6th in the 1-lap speed, 9th in the 10-lap averages, so definitely looking at him in all formats at that price. I think that's just a steal at his price for the speed that he showed. Not inside the playoffs, of course, but I think he's one of the drivers that, like I said, I think his ceiling is probably around a 10th to 12th place finish. And, the speed that he's showing, I think a 15th to his starting position of 19th is probably his floor this weekend. Like I said, barring any crashes. So, and then on FanDuel, someone that I'm looking at in all formats is Darrell Walsh Jr., only 4,500, so right near minimum price there. Starting 30th, he was 28th and 26th, so he showed a little bit more speed than that starting position, which I like. And just being at that price, we don't, I would even take like a 28th to 30th place finish at 4,500 to help you get like a Kyle Busch paired with two of the mid-range guys, or more of a stars and scrubs, getting him in there with Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch with Kyle, or if you want to get Harvick in there, Harvick and Ellie. If you want to go a little more stars and scrubs on FanDuel, Darrell Walsh Jr. definitely makes sense. And on DraftKings, it'd be definitely GPP only for me. So that's kind of a little bit about the sheet, some of my top picks. If you have any questions, make sure to leave your in the video below here, just in the comment section. Head over to the Slack chat, the RotoPros community chat. I will be on there, quite a bit into tonight and a little bit tomorrow morning from the track. I've got the app on my phone there, so definitely hit me up if you got some questions, lineup questions before lineup lock. And make sure to like the video, subscribe. We got more videos coming. We kind of cover a ton of sports over there. And if you're not a RotoPros member yet, make sure to sign up for our 2-week trial. Just head over to the site, rotopros.com/signup, and get your 2-week free trial to everything we do there. And with that, I'm going to leave you now, make some lineups, and see some green screens this week. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you real soon.